Brown from Microsoft, welcome up.
I was there to witness Candice is in her business. She wants the boys to notice her rainbows and her bonus. She was educated but could not count to 10. Now she got lots of different horses by lots of different men. And I say liberation, sons and daughters. The bush is high, but in the hole is water.
Thank you. My name is Kent Brown. I'm with Microsoft. I'm a product manager on the Windows, Azure, and BizTalk server team. And we are just wrapping up a sort of whirlwind tour of Europe. We went to Amsterdam, London, and we spoke in Stockholm, and then obviously today finishing it up. So it's been really a blast. It's been my first time in Sweden, and I have to say it's rapidly jumped to, I think, my favorite country in Europe, honestly. Just the people, seriously, just everyone I've talked to has been hospitable, friendly, patient with foreigners who only speak English. And so I'm going to ask you today to continue with that patience, because I only speak English. So what I wanted to talk about is choosing an enterprise integration server. I've been working in sort of the integration space for about 15 years. Started off working at Merrill Lynch way back as an architect. Early on in the sort of message-oriented middleware, ESB kind of days, and those ideas were around. I started inventing my own idea of a product. Realized that Microsoft and IBM would build that, and so said it didn't make sense to compete with them. Ended up working with a consulting partner similar to Enfo in New Jersey, in America, and working with BizTalk. I actually got very early on when BizTalk came out. I was like, yeah, that's what I've been talking about. That's the architecture for integration that the enterprise needs. And so now in Microsoft, I often get involved in answering RFPs, RFIs for people who are evaluating a server. So I just wanted to give kind of my perspective on that whole process. I don't know that we have the clicker. So to relate to this, I'm going to compare to how you buy a car. This is sort of, is it going to help with the clicker? Yes, it should work. So how do you go, the process you go about in buying a car? This is kind of car country. You guys have great cars. And so what do you think about? Actually, right now I'm going through, one of my cars is kind of getting old, and going through getting a new car for my wife. Which one? That's okay. I'll just click here. And so what are some of the things you think about when you're looking at a car? You know, obviously the purchase price. How fast is it? You know, if you want a sports car. What's the warranty like? What's it like if you take it into the dealer? Will they fix it? What are the luxury comforts? Does it, hook up to my iPad or my music? Does it have heated seats? I understand here the big thing is, can I from inside my home start up the car and warm it up, right? Especially this week. What's the gas mileage? Obviously that's important. Does it handle on the country roads? How reliable is it? I don't want a car that's going to break down. Don't have time for that. What are the maintenance costs? Actually, in the U.S., that's big. That's one of the, I guess, downsides of getting a European car there. It's a cost. You have to say it can be more expensive to fix in America. But that's something you factor in. Resale value. How cool is it? Do I feel cool when I drive this car? Do I handle winter road conditions? Obviously, here it's important. In Seattle, we get snow once a year, but when we do get snow, we've got mountains and they don't plow, and everything comes to a stop. And so actually, it is important to me to have that winter handling. Do I have family? How many people do I need to seat? Do I want to impress people with how cool my car is? How much cargo do I need to carry? And so I've got all these criteria that I'm looking at. Some of them are very sort of objective, fact-based, and some of them are very emotional. Is it cool? Do I feel good about it? And if you're not careful, when you go to the dealer, he will take advantage of those emotional things, and you'll end up with a car that you may not have intended to buy. So this guy obviously had, what was his top priority? Was budget, right? Cost. That doesn't meet the needs that I'm looking for right now. There's several things that this car doesn't have. So low cost isn't always the answer. Okay, this guy's super performance, and that's awesome. I could probably win drag races, but can I navigate around? Can I take my family in there? Is it affordable? Obviously not. So there's the soccer mom car, which that's very practical. I'm just old enough where I don't want a minivan. My kids are old enough where they'll be in university soon, and so I don't want a minivan. But they're good. This car, I can't find anything wrong with it. The only thing wrong with this one is I probably can't afford it. Looks pretty cool. This car obviously is going heavy. You know, my priority would be eco-friendly, being able to park. Like, it looks like you can actually park on somebody's front porch. Pretty nice. This would be for the heavy snow person. I live up in the mountains. That'd be my priority. Obviously, this is for rugged durability. Nothing's going to crunch it. This thing run over trees or tanks or whatever. And this thing, I don't know what this thing is. This is kind of, it looks expensive, big, tough, but it's just confusing. I don't know what actual purpose it has. And so actually, and I didn't mean to sort of pander, but I'm actually looking at a Volvo. There you go. This actually very much would meet my needs. It's elegant. I can take my wife out to a nice dinner. I can fit my kids in there. It looks like it'll do well in the snow. It'll perform. It'll get up to speed on the highway, but it doesn't look like it'd be a gas guzzler. And so it's a good sort of mix of what I'm looking for at a price range I can afford. So when you start looking at an integration server, you'll have kind of similar questions. Obviously, they're slightly different. You know, what is the license cost? How much do I have to pay for it? Will it perform and scale and handle the load I need? This is sort of, you know, like the car impressing people. What do the analysts say? You know, am I buying something that the analysts say is good? Now it's okay to buy it. Some people, that's their decision. What are the industry buzzwords? Does it have all the latest acronyms? Maintainability, that's a real thing. Once I've built integrations, how easy is it to evolve them, to sustain them? Agility, again, to change. How quickly can I respond to the business? Is it reliable? I don't want the thing breaking down. Also, hardware cost is another cost. Developer productivity. Business insight, so I'm not just connecting things together, but hopefully as these messages are flowing through, I'm actually gaining insight that I can raise up to, you know, through BI, I can raise up to the business and actually provide more value even beyond just connecting things together. You know, what's the sort of warranty? What's the product support experience? You know, case studies, what are other people doing it? Has it been proven out in my industry? Interoperability, scale, so a lot of these kind of questions. And you know, just in the other thing, comparing to a car, you just really got to think, what do I really need? What's going to serve my needs? And what am I going to be glad 2 or 3 years from now that I purchased the right thing, that I'm affording it, it's meeting my needs and is useful. So having set that up, I want to just take a second to kind of get into a little bit of BizTalk server. How many people kind of already know everything BizTalk does, or how many people is it somewhat new? How many people it's somewhat new to what BizTalk does? Okay, so a mix. And so I just wanted to explain just some of the features, and it's really the classical. Let's look under the hood, and a car's a car. You're going to see a lot of the familiar components, even if you haven't looked at BizTalk before. At the core of BizTalk is a messaging engine. High reliability, every message gets persisted. You don't lose a message. BizTalk's designed so that if someone were to walk up and pull the plug, when you plug it back in, every message should be delivered. That's the design point. There's a pub sub engine underneath it so that you can configure when I receive a message, where should it go? Obviously transformation, enrichment, so as a message flows through, you can look up and resolve IDs, those kind of things. There's a rich set of adapters. Those are just a sampling to back-end systems that you need to connect to. All those adapters come out of the box with BizTalk. There's an orchestration engine, so when I have complex exchanges of messages, how do I handle failures? How do I wait for a response? How do I orchestrate those things? There's also a rules engine for pulling out certain complex rules that I might need to change independently of my code. And then there's actually, it's not on the diagram, but there is ESP capability. How do I use rules and dynamically decide where a message gets routed? Implementing that classic ESP pattern. And besides BizTalk server, I meant to mention really Microsoft at at a foundation, and Windows Server is a service-oriented company. So we have products like our components, like WCF is our web service component, or Web API now for REST components that just come out of the box. They're part of the .NET framework. They're there for you to work on. BizTalk builds on those capabilities and really pulls them together as an enterprise integration server. So BizTalk's been around for a while. We've continually, every couple of years, renewed and invested in it. And so really kind of what this tour is about is showing people what we're doing in the next release. So there's a 2013 release that we're really close to. So just want to talk about our thinking in that and what will be in that. So just like, you know, your core choice in buying a car is getting from A to B, but you do start to care now. Most cars have systems where it communicates up, you know, if the car breaks down, if you need directions, GPS. So that modern connectivity actually is becoming expected part of the experience. For integration, some of these may feel like on the edge, like mobility, but actually they're real trends that are going on that enterprises are struggling to, how do they expand their existing solutions to accommodate. So the first is just agile development. There's been a major trend in the last 5 or 6 years away from heavy enterprise frameworks towards things like REST rather than SOAP. SOAP still has its place and is very, very useful, but you're starting to see a lot of people interested in lighter weight things like REST. You know, introducing of things like Spring framework, things like that. So not all developers, but a lot of developers are really seeing the value of these quicker solutions, lighter weight frameworks. Obviously, mobility and devices, that's a real thing. I think the last session talked about that. How do you connect up? Mobility has connectivity challenges, and it has basically, SOAP is going to be tough. You can't count on a rich WS star interface being supported from your cell phone, right? And so how do we expose things in a way that's secure, reliable, but lighter weight, and how do we get the security? Big data, to me, is really just BI on steroids, sort of. It's like just really big data, but the goal, again, is to harvest. As all these messages are flying around, all these transactions are happening, how can we harvest that and make it useful to the business? And then the cloud, obviously, is a major trend that's going on right now. I imagine most of you are large enterprise customers, and most customers that I talk to are just early in their thinking about the cloud. You're still primarily doing your integration servers. You have compliance or other reasons. You're still primarily on premises. But the cloud is obviously being able to use virtualization, automation of spinning up environments, having so less maintenance, being able to focus on your business more than on running servers. That's a trend that's just happening. And so Microsoft is obviously investing in that. We're a serious cloud player. And I really believe that we can take our serious enterprise integration presence to the cloud in a way that we're unique right now in the industry. So I just wanted to touch on sort of the next wave, what's coming out from Microsoft in the integration space. So we're continuing to innovate in BizTalk Server. There's a 2013 release. I'll hit some highlights here in a second on what's coming out in that. And then later there'll be sessions. Michael and some of the guys from Info will be delving deep into some of the new features. As well as we're making BizTalk Server run in Windows Azure. So Windows Azure has virtual machines. It's an infrastructure as a service. And so there's scenarios where you can spin up dev or test environments or even move existing applications quickly to the cloud if that's your goal. In addition, for the platform as a service, that's where we've actually re-architected. It's a very similar programming model to BizTalk, but it's designed to scale and work in the cloud. And so we call that BizTalk Services in Windows Azure. And then finally, this has been out for a while. It's called the Windows Azure Service Bus, but we're continuing to evolve that. They just released a capability called Notification Hub. And what that does is allows you to send events to one place, one endpoint, that will then forward them appropriately to, let's say, an iPhone or Windows Phone or Android, doing push notification, doing that really on a big scale to any device. So that's a big problem. So, in these mobile situations where something happens in integration that needs to be pushed out, this is an example of one of the services in the service bus. We've got some demos in a second that will, I think, really drive home the power. The service bus, think of it as, we have MSMQ as our message queuing product on the server. This is message queuing in the cloud. You can connect by REST. It's got all the modern sort of security, internet security techniques. And being able to spin that up without buying a bunch of servers and installing a whole infrastructure is really powerful, and it allows connectivity. Again, it supports the mobile connectivity. So just going to go in a couple of details on the BizTalk server, what's coming out. And again, a lot more detail will be covered later in the sessions. Connect to the cloud. And so even though BizTalk is a traditional on-premise enterprise server, we've added adapters that make it easy to expose REST endpoints, to connect through the service bus, and to make connections out to business partners, to devices. Running in the cloud, I mentioned being able to run in infrastructure as a service, your existing applications. Significant performance improvements, and continuing to simplify the development and maintenance experience for BizTalk solutions. And as well, just continued support for the latest platforms and standards. So, Swift or EDI, or, all these standards continually evolve. And so we continue to invest and put the work so that all those schemas are available to you. Over 10,000 EDI schemas that just come with BizTalk server. And we keep those up to date so you don't have to work and try to keep your schemas up to date with the latest standards. So that's the server product. This is a new offering that's actually going to be in preview very soon, and around the middle of the year will be globally available. And I'm calling it, the exact name we'll announce soon, but it's basically BizTalk related services in Windows Azure. So what that is, again, as a PaaS, platform as a service, you're going to be able to not worry about installing hardware, running virtual machines, any of that. You just write your code, you design your solutions, deploy, and it's all managed for you. When you need to scale up, you just go to a website and scale it up. You don't have to install and manage a bunch more servers or pay for the servers. You pay for what you use. One of the big focuses is connecting that to our on-prem to Windows Server, to BizTalk server, because we, again, understand not everybody's the cloud is going to be used to extend what you have on premises, and so that seamless connectivity between the two is important. Continuing to drive a configuration-based experience, not a heavy coding experience, continuing to simplify the integration experience. And then building an extensible platform that we can't solve every problem. We've got a rich set of partners that can build. We have APIs that partners, or even you as an enterprise developer can extend our platform and really customize your solution. So I'm really excited about what this is doing in the integration space, and I want to bring up Michael from Enfo. He's done some really creative things. He's actually from Enfo Zystems. He's doing some really creative mobile solutions using the Service Bus and BizTalk.
Now it's on, right? Cool. So let's just see where we have network still. I have to use my phone to actually network. So I think we're on. So Kent was talking about the portal for Azure. So this is pretty much what it looks like, and you have all kinds of features here. One of the features you have are virtual machines, right? So you can create your own virtual machines, or you can create it for many of the templates, where you can actually create ones for any kind of operating system, not only virtual machines or from gallery, where you have things like various versions of Windows, of course, but also you have various versions of Linux operating systems as well. And you have these pre-prepared ones, such as with BizTalk, which I think was on the top.
Right, and being able to create a fully functional development environment on BizTalk in about 5 minutes is a pretty cool capability.
So that's what I've done, and I've opened up the solution. And I'm going to actually start with a demo first. So what we have, if we go back to this slide, we have our queues in Windows Azure Service Bus, and we have a device now on my desktop that's going to submit messages to that queue, and BizTalk is going to pick up that message. It's just going to flip it over, add some content to it, and flip it back to the queue, and then the application is going to pick it up and show it off. So that's. right? That's appropriate. Oh, sorry. So you can see now the messages is pumping out, and that one is coming out.
Okay, so what just happened? This client posted to the queue. BizTalk's picked it up, processed it, responded back, and you picked up a notification.
Yeah, so that's exactly what happened. It's not a killer demo, I know. I'm sorry for that, but we're getting to it. I think the next demo you're going to see is pretty nice. This is Stefan, by the way. Stefan Nilsson, who's also the... he was the guy who helped us do time reporting, right, in SAP. Be Employer of the Year. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn off BizTalk. So I'm going to go here and disable it. And what Stefan is doing now is he's starting up the server on his side. So go back to the demo. Are you ready? Give it a minute to fire up. You're on the network, right? So that's the problem with this kind of venues. So we have like 500 people in the audience all on the network. Nothing yet. Let me look in the queue, see if...
Yeah, show the queue interface in the portal.
Yeah, so there's my namespace, and I can look at my queues and see if there's anything in... So I have 3 messages in the queue. Just pick it up. This is such a cool demo. But it is a cool demo. It's a demo I've been wanting to do for a long time. Maybe for nätverket. Let's look back to that one, and we're not forgetting this one, and we just dump this one and get back to it. Let's continue with the slides. That's what we could do, right?
Yes.
So I just need let's do like this, so see it.
We'll come back.
Yeah.
Okay, so while he's doing that, he actually had a surprise in there. Hopefully it'll get really quick. One of the other features in Windows Azure is an EDI service that we're building up there. And so a scenario that you might use is being able to do, let's say, just your B2B work in the cloud. Maybe you want to offload that, maybe for security reasons, for scale reasons, you want to run that outside of your infrastructure. And so we have an EDI capability that your partners can send over FTP or secure FTP or HTTPS, drop those messages. We can parse, process those from EDI point of view, and then forward them through the service bus to BizTalk server into your line of business systems. Keep going. Okay, and then just another example is for kind of raw. So that the first example was where you're extending what you have, and you're just, let's say EDI is not your specialty. Maybe you're using an EDI service provider, and they're hosting in the cloud, and you can completely offload your EDI work into the cloud, but you're still doing a lot of your main integration is still on premises. You know, maybe down the road, once this cloud thing really works out for you, you're really doing most of your EAI. So you're doing your custom integrations actually up in the cloud quite a bit, especially your B2B. And you have a lighter weight, maybe especially for a smaller company. Maybe they don't invest in a huge on-premises server. Maybe they have just the BizTalk adapters being hosted in a lightweight way, and again, messages are being forwarded to the line of business system. You want to try again? All right, we'll try again, and if not, we'll explain what it does. I saw it working. It's definitely cool.
So that should be popping up in that case. Let me just restart this one so it's not that. Look at the queues again. It's such a great network. So we're both on the same phone now, by the way. So I think it's working because my queue length is now 0. So let's start this again. So that's pretty cool. So if we go back to this slide and just tell what happens. So we're actually implementing the same pattern, and this is an important demo because this means that we can actually hook up the cloud and all those good things that we have in the cloud, such as the EDI and EAI, and hook it up to any back end. So this is work that Stefan has been doing, and has also posted a white paper on it that's going to be available on Azure.com, I think in a few days.
Yeah, and I think the thing to look at, we're not going to go into too much code, but I think in some of the later sessions you can. It really doesn't take a lot. Just spinning up that queue is very easy. For BizTalk, and I'm sure for for BizTalk, it's just a send port, and you just configure that pointing a URI at that queue. And so it sees it the same as if it was on premises and sends and receives. From the device, it's very simple, a few lines of code using a REST interface to post to the queue. AMQP it's a new protocol called Advanced Message Queue Protocol. That's how we're doing the interop with IBM WebSphere. That's why it's so easy to connect, because they talk the same protocol. So it's really great example.
The last demos, put it in a context.
Yeah, so this demo is really, I think, really powerful. It's really cool, but it's also really useful. This is a real, when you see it, you're going to want it. Trust me, right now when I'm traveling, I wish I had this.
So we can let that run for a minute. So the scenario is this: you park in your car, you buy a receipt, you take a picture with your device, with your phone, take a picture and submit it into Azure, to a blob storage in Azure. So what you see here right now, we come in, on the left side is your trips. And those can be created from this tool or in SAP, or as in this case of a third party, like a travel agent has created for you. And you click on one of these, and you will see all the receipts that is connected to this particular trip. Those that are green are already connected, the other ones are not. So you can click on these ones, and you can look at things like the picture, of course, but also like the location where you took the picture. And if we have, like from this instance, I have a dinner. I thought I had another dinner. These are my sales guys over there. They're doing the same demo. But I can go in, and if I have something, you see, I took a picture of a coffee. I can also go in and see if I have a calendar event. I can see what happened that day, and I can connect it to, like, if I have a restaurant, I go into a restaurant and have dinner with you. I can look at this time, and I can say these people are included in the dinner. And when I'm done, I can just submit it to SAP directly. So we all using this infrastructure that Kent been talking about through the Azure EAI.
Yeah, it's a really powerful example of bringing together all that capability. And so from a mobile device, as I'm traveling around Europe, I can be using the phone, the power of the phone, taking pictures, using sort of social connectivity through my email system and who's joined that meeting, saving myself a lot of work pulling that in. And then so the front end experience is that mobile, social, modern experience. The back end is rock solid, enterprise integration into SAP. So that's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's actually wanted to keep it simple there. That's the talk. I hope that as you start looking at your next project, that you'll at least consider. You'll look at all those requirements. I'm sure your RFP has a lot of those things that I listed. Evaluate BizTalk. Really look at from a practical point of view, can it meet your needs? We see huge opportunities in the cloud. We're really innovating there. Hope you do too. Again, I think initially to extend and add on to what you have, and over time we see the cloud is providing more and more value to enterprise customers. So we're continuing to invest in this, and especially to build these hybrid applications. So thank you.
Hello? Hallå, nu funkar det. Thank you, very interesting. I have some flowers here for you. So, and that's for your good speech, nothing else.
Thank you.
En applåd, även här, applåd! And, sorry, one more gift. headphones with the Enfo brand.
Nice. Thank you.
Thanks.